love pasta as much as I do? Have you ever wondered what the difference between fresh pasta and dry pasta is? What's semolina? What's 00? Would you like some best practices for cooking pasta? My name's Chef Jeremy with Lineage Culinary, and today we're going to talk all about pasta. I love learning about the history of food. I find it absolutely fascinating. A lot of our culinary traditions are born out of the ingredients that were available in different regions around the globe. And pasta is a great example of that. The word pasta is from the Italian word for paste, and that's what pasta dough is. It's flour mixed with water, sometimes eggs, creates a paste, and then that's shaped and cooked in boiling water. Outside of Italy, the same preparation is referred to as noodles. The two cultures that have had the greatest impact on pasta and noodles are Italy and China. Both regions created their own versions based on their local climate and ingredients. In Italy, high gluten durum wheat is readily available. This was used to create a protein-rich pasta that can be dried and stored for long periods of time. The Italians also developed fresh pasta, which is made from a softer bread flour with eggs added to increase the protein. Pasta makers formed guilds and developed regional pastas and recipes, which resulted in hundreds of different shapes of pasta. There are also regional traditions of pairing specific sauces with a shape of pasta that perfectly complements the sauce. The wheat grown in China is a soft, low-gluten wheat that produces delicate and thin noodles and wrappers that are often cooked in broths. China invented stuffed pasta and made thin-walled wontons and thicker-walled pot stickers before the ravioli was developed in Italy. To understand pasta, it's helpful to understand wheat. Wheat contains two proteins, gliadin and glutenin. Both of these proteins mix with water to form gluten. Now, gliadin gives adhesive properties to the pasta and allows it to be shaped. Glutenin gives elastic properties to the pasta and allows it to be stretched. Now, the property that allows pasta to hold its shape is called extensibility. The property that allows pasta to be stretched is called elasticity. While we certainly want both properties in dough, you'll want to have more extensibility in a pasta that needs to hold its shape like a cavatelli versus more elasticity in a pasta dough that's going to be stretched like a fettuccine. This helps you determine which type of flour to use for which types of pasta. For pasta, there are two main types of wheat to consider, durum wheat and bread wheat. Durum wheat is an ancient grain that is one of the first cultivated wheats. Over time, the wheat plants evolved by crossbreeding with other varieties into a new species of wheat that had a more elastic dough, which was useful for making bread. This modern bread wheat was preferred for its usefulness in cooking and now makes up 90% of the wheat grown in the world. Durum wheat is higher in gliadin than modern bread flour. Thus, durum has more extensibility than bread flour. This is useful when choosing which type of flour to use when making pasta dough or how to blend them. If I want very silky, stretchy pasta, I use modern bread flour. If I want a dough that will hold its shape more, I use durum flour. Often I make a blend of both flours. Here we have examples of the two types of flour I was just talking about. This is the modern bread flour, and this is semolina. This is from durum wheat. Flour is labeled differently in the US and Italy. United States manufacturers label flour based on its intended purpose, so you'll hear terms like bread flour, cake flour, all-purpose flour, etc. Italian flour is designated by grind size, 00, 0, 1, 2, with 00 being the finest and 2 being the coarsest. Softer grinds will be more supple and smooth, while coarser grinds will have a more textured mouthfeel. Often you hear of using 00 flour for pasta, and this is likely referring to a soft wheat 00 flour, which is what I have here. This would be great for fresh pasta, but a more coarse grind of a high-protein durum flour would be useful for extruding something like rigatoni. I recommend looking at the protein content of the flour in addition to the grind size. Higher protein means sturdier dough, lower protein means softer dough. Now you may be thinking, can I just use all-purpose flour? And the answer to that is yes, you can. All-purpose flour will make a fine pasta. But for me, flour is a relatively cheap ingredient, so I like to buy a good pasta flour when I'm making pasta dough. Now, I like to use Caputo. That's an Italian brand of flour that you probably can't find at a grocery store, but you can get it online. Full disclosure here, I'm not affiliated with Caputo. They're not cutting me any kind of checks for telling you this. I just think they make great flour for pasta, so that's why I'm telling you. But really, you can use any high quality flour to make a great pasta, and if all you have is all-purpose, go for it. It'll be fine. Pasta can be categorized into two main types, fresh and dry. These pastas were influenced by the region in which they were developed. First, we're going to talk about dried pasta. In the southern part of Italy, durum wheat was more available. Because durum wheat has a high protein content, they developed a pasta using durum flour, also known as semolina, and water. the pasta was able to be dried and stored for long periods of time. Originally, dried pasta was made by hand into short shapes like trofie, orecchietti, and cavatelli. Later, a method was developed called extrusion. That's where pasta dough is pushed through the holes of a die at high pressure. This enabled pasta makers to create new shapes that were not able to be made by hand, like spaghetti, bucatini, linguine, fusilli, rigatoni, and penne. The pressure and heat from pushing the dough through the die breaks up the protein networks in the dough and mixes them with the starch granules that have been partially gelatinized by the heat from the die. The result is a sturdy pasta that dries well and holds its shape. Originally, dies were made from bronze because of its ability to transfer heat. Now, modern dies are sometimes made with Teflon and extrude pasta that is firmer and smoother. The bronze dies produce a pasta with a rougher surface which holds sauce better, so I prefer pasta made with a bronze die if it's available. Here we have some examples of dried pasta. First we have orecchietti. Now that means little ears in Italian, and you can see the rough exterior of that pasta. That shows that it was made from a bronze die, and that's going to hold the sauce a little bit better. Next we have rigatoni, and you can see this pasta, even though it has the ridges on the outside, the pasta wall itself is not quite as rough, and that shows that it was made with a Teflon die. And here we have spaghetti, but you can see the spaghetti has a rough exterior on it, and that indicates that this was extruded from a bronze die. Now let's talk about fresh pasta. In central and northern Italy, softer bread flour is more prevalent than durum flour. Now, bread flour has a lower protein content, so eggs are often added to the dough. The doughs can't be stored quite as long because of the eggs, so they should be cooked soon after making or refrigerated for a few days. Now, fresh pasta is typically made with bread flour, eggs, and water. Sometimes it's mixed with a little bit of semolina to add extensibility. Remember, extensibility is the property that allows pasta to hold its shape. Fresh pasta is traditionally rolled with a long, thin rolling pin called a mattarello. It can also be made into sheets using a hand-operated dough roller or a mechanically operated mixer attachment. The sheets are then rolled and cut into long, thin strips or squares and made into various shapes like fettuccine, tagliatelle, pappardelle, garganelli, farfalle, lasagna sheets, and various shapes for ravioli. Here we have an example of fresh pasta. This is fettuccine. I hope that was helpful. In the next video, I'm going to be showing you how to cook pasta. And look, I could talk about pasta for hours. I'm not going to make this video 20 hours long, so we're going to do some more videos about pasta. I hope you like our content. If you're enjoying this, please like and subscribe. It really helps people find our content. And please visit our website, lineageculinary.com. My name's Chef Jeremy, and thank you for watching. What are you doing? Here we have an example of a whippet. It likes to get in the way of everything. Be gone. Be gone, whippet.